Good evening and welcome. Tonight we're diving deep into the heart of America, where a new battleground is emerging in the fight over immigration. Forget the border wall, forget the caravans. This is about what's happening in your backyard, on your streets, in your hospitals and schools. Across the country, a wave of state laws is reshaping the very fabric of our nation and the lives of millions. We're talking about a patchwork of policies so restrictive, so punitive, that critics are calling it a new era of segregation. But is it about security or something else entirely? Texas, a state that prides itself on independence, on doing things its own way. But when it comes to immigration, Texas is writing a new playbook, and it's sending shockwaves across the nation. Down in the Lone Star State, they're not waiting for Washington to act. They've taken matters into their own hands with Senate Bill 4, a law so sweeping, so controversial, it's been dubbed the Show Me Your Papers law. Imagine this. You're driving down a Texas highway, pulled over for a broken taillight. You're asked for your license and registration, standard procedure, right? But under SB 4, local police can now demand your immigration status. That's right, a routine traffic stop could land you in deportation proceedings, and it doesn't stop there. Texas is building its own border wall, a physical manifestation of a hardening stance on immigration. State troopers and National Guard now patrol the border, turning what was once a place of commerce and culture into a militarized zone. The question is, at what cost? Critics warn that these measures could lead to racial profiling, tearing apart families and communities. Supporters say it's about restoring law and order, protecting citizens. But one thing is clear, Texas is setting a precedent, and the nation is watching. From the beaches to the Everglades, Florida has always been a melting pot, a beacon for those seeking a new life. But a chill wind is blowing through the Sunshine State, as new laws target not just those crossing the border, but those who have built lives here, contributing to the very fabric of Florida's communities. Imagine this, you're rushed to the hospital, a medical emergency. Before you can receive treatment, you're asked for your immigration status. Your child needs to enroll in school, but proof of legal residency is now mandatory. You're applying for a job, but employers face crippling fines if they don't use E-Verify, a federal database riddled with errors. These laws, passed under the banner of securing Florida's future, are having a chilling effect. Thousands are fleeing, driven by fear and uncertainty. The message is clear. If you're undocumented, you're not welcome. The human cost is staggering. Families torn apart, businesses struggling to find workers, a climate of fear replacing the warmth Florida is known for. Oklahoma, a state synonymous with resilience, with the pioneer spirit, is now ground zero in the fight over immigration. And what's happening here is a warning shot for the rest of the nation. You see, Oklahoma isn't a border state. It's 1,000 miles from the Rio Grande, yet it's enacting some of the harshest immigration laws in the country. Imagine this. Your neighbor, a hardworking member of your community, is stopped for a broken taillight. Turns out their paperwork isn't in order. Under Oklahoma's new law, simply living in the state without legal status is now a crime. And it gets worse. If arrested for any reason, undocumented immigrants face mandatory deportation orders within 72 hours of release. No time for legal counsel, no time to appeal, no time to say goodbye to loved ones. The impact is being felt across the state. Legal challenges are mounting, but the message is clear. If you're here illegally, don't get caught. In the heart of Tennessee, a battle is raging over one of the most fundamental American rights, the right to an education. This isn't about border security. It's about a direct challenge to the 1982 Supreme Court ruling that guarantees education for all children, regardless of immigration status. Imagine this. You're the parent of a bright-eyed child, eager to learn, but at the schoolhouse door, you're turned away. Why? Because you can't provide proof of legal residency. That's the reality in Tennessee, where schools can now deny enrollment to students who can't prove they were born in America. And it gets worse. Undocumented families may be charged tuition for their children to attend public schools, an insurmountable barrier for many struggling to make ends meet. The result? Empty classrooms, a generation of children left behind, and a state grappling with the consequences of denying education to those who need it most. Georgia, a state built on agriculture, on hospitality, on the contributions of immigrants throughout its history, is now at the forefront of a crackdown that's sending shockwaves through its communities. Imagine this. You own a small business, a restaurant, a construction company. You rely on a workforce that's helped you build your success. But under Georgia's new law, you face crippling fines, even shutdown, if you're caught employing undocumented workers. And it doesn't end there. HB 87, modeled after Arizona's controversial SB 1070, empowers police to check immigration status during routine stops, leading to racial profiling and fear in immigrant communities. The economic impact is undeniable. Labor shortages in agriculture, construction, hospitality, industries built on the backs of immigrant labor. In Alabama, a state grappling with its past, a new set of laws is writing a dark chapter for immigrant communities. Imagine this. You're an undocumented immigrant living in Alabama. You need to rent an apartment, but landlords are now forbidden from renting to you. Your car breaks down, you need a ride to work, but even offering you a lift is now illegal. Alabama's HB 56 goes further than any other state in criminalizing basic acts of human kindness. It's now illegal to hire an undocumented worker for any job, no matter how essential. Schools are required to collect immigration data on students, turning educators into de facto immigration agents. The result? Families are fleeing, driven by fear and desperation. Crops are rotting in the fields, businesses are struggling to find workers, and a climate of fear has descended upon the state. Arizona, a state synonymous with the battle over immigration, is once again on the front lines, reviving some of its most controversial and legally challenged policies. Remember SB 1070, the Show Me Your Papers law that sparked nationwide protests and legal challenges? It's back, albeit in a modified form. Police can still detain anyone they suspect of being undocumented, even without probable cause for another crime. But it's not just about law enforcement. Strict ID laws block access to public services, driver's licenses, even voting, for those who can't prove their citizenship. Critics warn that these policies lead to racial profiling, eroding trust between law enforcement and the communities they're sworn to protect. Supporters say it's about upholding the rule of law, deterring illegal immigration. Iowa, a state known for its heartland values, its agricultural bounty, is now facing an unintended consequence of its immigration crackdown, a labor crisis that's impacting the very industries that define it. Imagine this. You're a farmer in Iowa, reliant on a workforce to plant, cultivate, and harvest your crops. But under Iowa's SF 2340, unauthorized presence in the state is now a crime, punishable by jail time and expulsion. The result? Workers are vanishing overnight, fearing for their livelihoods and their families. Meatpacking plants are operating below capacity. Farms are struggling to find workers, and the state's economy is feeling the pinch. Louisiana, a state known for its vibrant culture, its spirit of resilience, is now grappling with the human cost of its crackdown on immigration. Imagine this. You're a sheriff in Louisiana. You pull someone over for a broken taillight. Under Louisiana's new law, you now have the authority to detain that person, even if they haven't committed a crime, simply on the suspicion that they might be undocumented. But it goes beyond law enforcement. Hospitals, once places of refuge, are now required to report undocumented individuals seeking medical help. Schools, entrusted with the education of our children, are now collecting data on students' immigration status. The result? A climate of fear has descended upon Louisiana. Families are afraid to seek medical help, children are afraid to go to school, and the very fabric of community is being torn apart. In North Carolina, a state grappling with its history of segregation, a new wave of laws is creating a climate of fear and uncertainty for immigrant communities. Imagine this. You're living in a town that had declared itself a sanctuary city, a place of refuge for undocumented immigrants. But under North Carolina's new law, sanctuary policies are now banned statewide. And it gets worse. Local law enforcement agencies are now required to cooperate with ICE, turning local police officers into de facto immigration agents. The result? Families are being torn apart, workers are vanishing overnight, and communities are unraveling under the weight of these draconian policies. From the sun-drenched fields of Florida to the bustling streets of New York City, the immigration debate is no longer confined to the halls of Congress or the border fence. It's happening in our communities, our schools, our hospitals. We've seen how state after state is enacting laws that target not just undocumented immigrants, but also those who interact with them: employers, landlords, even teachers. These laws are transforming America state by state. But at what cost? Is this about safety or a political statement? What happens when fear keeps people from hospitals, schools, and police? One thing is clear: the immigration debate is no longer just about the border. It's in your backyard. Want more deep dives like this? Subscribe for unfiltered reporting. Like to support independent journalism. Share to spread the truth. Because these laws aren't just headlines, they're changing lives. Stay informed, stay aware.